Welcome to episode 2 of the Rust programming language series. And if you haven't watched the previous 2 episodes, I'd really recommend that before watching this one. In this episode, we're going to go through the basic data types in Rust. And first off, we have integers. So what are integers? Well, integers are normal, whole, non-fractional numbers. And in Rust, we have 4 different sizes depending on your need. And if you know that your number is always going to be small, then don't pick a large size because that's ineffective. We also have 2 different types of integers. We have signed and unsigned. So of the signed ones, we start off with I8, which is an 8-bit signed integer that ranges from -128 to 127. And you might wonder why it doesn't go all the way to +128, and that's because we also need to represent the 0 number. So technically it is 128 on both sides. The next size is the I16, and that's 16 bits. You can see the range right there. Then we have the I32, and that's a 32-bit signed integer. And the last one is the I64, which is a 64-bit signed integer, and you can see the range right here. So I hope that you guys see a pattern going from 8 to 16 to 32 to 64. Also, we have what's called an I size, and that's either 32 or 64 bits depending on your computer's architecture. So you guys might wonder, how do we represent negative numbers in binary? Well, to do that, we use what's called a sign bit, and that's usually the first bit, and it indicates if we're going to have a negative or a positive number. So, do we always need this? What if we know that our number can never be negative? Well, then we can use what's called unsigned integers. And there we have the same sizes, but instead of an I8, we have a U8. So U8 ranges from 0 to 255, so that's 256 numbers. We also have the U16, the U32, the U64, and finally the U size. And the U size is either 32 or 64 bits, depending on your computer's architecture. In Rust, we also have floating point numbers, and we have 2 different sizes. It's either the float 32, and that's 32 bits, or the float 64, and that's 64 bits. And these are IEEE single and double precision floating point types. And the float 32 is a single precision floating point type, and the float 64 is a double precision floating point type. And these are implemented in the IEEE 754-2008 specification. And I'm not going to go into detail on how these are implemented, but if you want to find out, you can Google for IEEE 754-2008 and you'll find out. The next data type that we're going to cover is a Boolean, or a bool for short. And that has either 2 values. It's either true or it's false. And that's really all you need to know about a Boolean, and they're very useful. The next data type is a char. And a char, or character, is a single 32-bit Unicode character, and it's specified with single quotes. So, and this is an example of a char. So I don't use the char very often, and in the cases that you are going to use it, you're probably going to know yourself. So we have 2 different strings. The first one is str, and it's a string of text. And the str is a fixed size, and this needs to be known at compile time. And it can't be changed after assignment, so it's immutable. The next string type is called string, and it's also a string of text. This is a dynamically sized UTF-8 string, and this can be changed if you make it mutable. So these are all the basic data types that we're going to cover in this tutorial. Hopefully you found this useful now, and if you didn't find it useful now, I'm sure you're going to do in the future, because it's very useful to know the different data types that you have in a programming language. So in the next episode, we're going to get back to coding, but for now, happy coding!